Hello, BookTube. Well, I've got some interesting things to talk to you about in last week in BookTube. For those of you who are new to the channel, and since the channel is approaching a mind-boggling 2,000 subscribers, I have to assume that some of you are. This is a segment I do where I talk about highlights and some lowlights of the BookTube viewing that I did in the previous week. Not by any means meant to be comprehensive. I'm sure I missed a lot. These are just some things I wanted to point out to you. And we start with a group of really good reviews, book reviews, a thing that I don't do on this channel yet. So, of course, I pay extra attention to them elsewhere, and there were a whole slew of them last week. I wanted to point out just a few. Pickelheartbooks did a review of We Are the Ants by Sean David Hutchinson, an absolutely great YA novel. I loved it, and the review was really good. Chris at the Reading Rhodes continues a fantastic streak of great, thoughtful book reviews. This time around, he did And I Darken by Kirsten White. Just Juan Reader reviewed Andrew Michael Hurley's The Loney, sort of gothic horror debut that he got a lot more out of than I did, and that's always good to see in a review. That I learned a lot about the book that I reviewed, or that I read. I couldn't bring myself to review it. It just didn't make much sense to me. And Book Your Imagination reviewed a book called Hatred Day by T.S. Pettibone, which was a post-apocalyptic science fiction thriller by a self-published author. I would honestly have thought, until I saw this review, that I was the only person on BookTube who even heard about the book, much less read it. I reviewed it for Kirkus. I liked it a lot. And this review was really good. So if you like what you hear about in the review, by all means, give the author your business. Let's see here. A Scientist Reads did a book haul from the Harvard Bookstore in Cambridge, Massachusetts, where I've been many, many times, sooner or later. If she's willing, she and I must go there together and film it. Neil Griffiths continued his exploration of the books on the Man Booker shortlist. He talked about a couple of other books this week, but in an earlier video, he also said something that struck me as very interesting, where he was talking about Malin Thien's novel, Do Not Say We Have Nothing. And in addition to saying other things about it, he mentioned that it's the kind of book that the Booker tends to go for, that they tend to give the prize to. And I hadn't thought about that, but it's a great observation, and he's entirely right. Of all the books on the list, it is the most Bookerish. So we'll see if that, I know it's not the odds-on favorite to win, but we'll see if that proves to be true. Luke Lane Reads, channel I'm very happy to have on BookTube. I'll leave the links to all these below. Most of these mentions also count as recommendations, with a couple of very obvious exceptions. He did a top 5 horror TBR, the top 5 horror novels that he wants to read. I thought it was really interesting. And talk about interesting, there's a great channel that you all need to subscribe to encourage her to make more videos. It's called Insert Literary Pun Here. That's the name of the channel. And she talked also about the Man Booker shortlist and about diversity of representation on the list. And she referenced a video that I made on the subject and a video that was made by Britta Bowler on the subject. I'll try to remember to link both those videos down below, as well as hers. And in her discussion, she tended to lean towards agreeing with Britta, and this underscores one of life's fundamental dichotomies now, doesn't it? Good versus evil, cat versus dog, Star Wars versus Star Trek, Steve versus Britta. So I urge you to watch all 3 videos and then pick a side. Simon Savage he's done a bunch of videos, but he did another bookish chat where he just sits in front of the camera and natters on, and I tell you, it's the most natural form in the world for him. I love it when he does this. Jason Purcell did another one of his really good, really thoughtful book discussions, this time about Border Markers by Jenny Ferguson, a Canlit work that I don't know anything about. Well, now I do, thanks to his video. And Adam from Mementomori continued his read-along of Dante's Divine Comedy, this time at Purgatory, and found it a lot of fun, which, readers do, although he's absolutely right that 95% of all readers of Dante never get to Purgatory. They stop after the Inferno. And they shouldn't. And I'm now curious to see how many of the people doing his read-along will follow him to the most maligned book of them all, the Paradise, the Paradiso. Almost nobody, almost no general reader gets that far. They just have no interest in heaven. Maybe if Adam goes with them. AlffBooks did a very good video about book hauls. He's the sweetest booktuber in the world, so of course he didn't make it any kind of bare-knuckled criticism, but still, the gist of his comments was that sometimes he finds book hauls self-indulgent, pandering, posturing, and he, in his comments field, gave me a papal dispensation that I can be an exception, because of course I do a lot of book hauls on this channel. Apparently I was hoping that I would get an exception, because as a book critic, I'm hoping that I've made it obvious on this channel that I do a lot more than just grab books. I also pay significant amounts of subsequent attention to them. They're not just, ooh, pretty. But I was curious to know what the rest of you think about haul videos. Most of you do them, and I assume most of you watch them. I myself find a kind of fascination with them, even if the author is being a bit of a tool. And I'm wondering if you feel the same way. Do you really like them? And if you have criticisms, of what are they? So by all means, watch his video and then let me know what you think. Jess from Rebel Reads, I couldn't not mention this video. She did a video about Ghost, her gorgeous dog. No books, no discussions, no hauls, no wrap-ups, just Ghost. And it was glorious. David from the Poptimist did a great video called Strangers and the Stories They Tell. I firmly believe that he gives these videos of his the titles that he does because he knows how good they are, that they deserve a kind of quasi-literary title. This one's about travel and serendipitous travel stories that you encounter from people on the road. And the video itself wanders from story to story. It's a masterful performance. It's always a joy to get a video from him. And that ends my overview of last week in BookTube, except for the last two things I want to talk about, which aren't specifically BookTube, but they are YouTube and Word related. And so I thought they counted. They certainly stuck with me longer than anything else last week. And they are by the uncrowned kings of YouTube, the Vlog Brothers, John and Hank Green. Each of whom did a video, they're not connected with each other, and both videos were thought-provoking, to say the least. One in a bad way, and one in a good way. I thought we'd start with the bad way, and that's Hank Green, he has a crash course philosophy series of videos where he goes over philosophical and social subjects and talks about them, weighs them, I presume for educational purposes. This was number 28, titled How Words Can Harm. And it was well lit and well scripted, well presented. He's a really, really affable host. And he talked about hate speech and the nature of it and the arguments for and against, and whether or not it should be included as free speech. And he quoted a lot of psychologists, and he quoted a lot of linguists and social analysts and whatnot, and I watched the video the first time just cold with horror at what I was hearing. And then I watched it the second time and had the same reaction. And the third time I watched it, I tried to put myself in his position, what he was thinking, even in terms of just objective educational purposes. And I couldn't do it. It is, by a wide margin, the most dangerous video I have ever seen on YouTube. And I urge you to go and see it. I urge you to make comments on it, or think about it, or make a response video about it. But I wanted to say something about it myself that is not opinion. I had plenty of opinions on the video, but there's a fact about it that is nowhere present in the video, and that I worry is nowhere present in the minds of most of the people, young people in the 21st century who are watching the video. So I wanted to make sure you heard that fact at least once, at least from one source, even if it's a small platform like this. And that fact is that words cannot harm you. All the rest of the discussion flows from there, and you should definitely watch his video. But it wasn't all bad news on the Green brothers front, because John Green made a video in which he surprised me by directly addressing the elephant in the room when it comes to him, which is the length of time it's been since he wrote The Fault in Our Stars. The video is called Failing to Follow Up on The Fault in Our Stars, and it's an amazing performance. It's an amazingly honest and brave discussion of what writing means to him and what maybe it no longer means to him, what he thinks about when he sits at his writing table, and how that's been going for the last 4 years. It contains a lot of stuff that I think a lot of his readers will find depressing or alarming, but I congratulate him for making the video. Some of the revelations in it of what writing does and doesn't mean to him didn't surprise me. But the fact that he would make them and where we go from here kept me spellbound the whole time. And oddly enough, ironically enough, the video actually made me want to see a new book from him. I think it will be whatever it is, if we ever get one, I think it will be radically different from anything he's ever done before. In fascinating ways. I think it's clear from the video that his whole conception of not only himself as a writer, but of writing itself, has been altering in some seismic ways in the last few years, and that's always thrilling. Just thrilling. So by all means, go and watch it and see what you think. And that's it. Believe it or not, I'm ending on 2 Green Brother videos. Never thought that would happen. And we'll get back to normal right away, and I'll see you soon, BookTube. Thank you.